The Conference of Nigeria Political Parties and the Coalition of National Civil Society Organizations have come down hard on the federal government over its plan to obtain a fresh $1.75 billion loan from the World Bank, insisting that Nigeria does not need more debt, but rather the recovery of looted public funds. In a joint statement signed by James Ezema, Deputy National Publicity Secretary of CNPP, and Ali Abasha, National Secretary of the Coalition, the groups said they viewed with alarm the recent disclosure that the Tinubu administration is seeking fresh loans from the World Bank amounting to $1.75 billion, despite unprecedented revenue collections within the last 8 months. They warn that the move will not only undermine the government's credibility, but also plunge ordinary Nigerians into deeper suffering while eroding any hope for sustainable economic recovery. To further discuss this, I'm joined by National President of Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, Dr. Femi Egbesola. Dr. Femi, good afternoon and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon and thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Femi, most small business owners are barely staying afloat. There's high diesel cost, fuel, weak naira, there's no credit. Now, the government wants to take another loan of $1.75 billion. The government says it needs this loan to stabilize the economy. But small business owners might argue the economy's never really been stable for them. What's your take on that?
Well, you're very right. Absolutely correct. For us, it's a different ballgame because for small business owners, the word stability feels like a distant dream because you see that every day prices keep going up. The cost of diesel keep eating the roof. Forex is unstable. Inflation is eroding our profits, and credit is almost inaccessible. So for us, when borrowing sometimes maybe stability for macroeconomics, it is destabilizing the microeconomy. So you begin to wonder, stabilize for who? Well, we are not saying that borrowing is bad. We know that borrowing is not too bad. It is targeted to pain points that ordinary Nigerians face and even MSMEs. Our concern has been that past borrowing has always been going down to debt servicing, filling budget gaps, and not providing practical solutions like lowering energy costs, providing affordable credit, and even improving infrastructure for all of us. So this means that if this new loan is taken, if care is not taken, and it goes down the way the old pattern has always been, the risk of deepening the public debt without improving the life of every Nigerian is always there. And for us, it's a big concern.
So, right. Has there been any recent borrowing actually that reached your members? Because when loans like this come, we rarely hear about, direct support for small businesses. So has there been any recent borrowing that, have reached your members in any tangible way, either by grants, infrastructure, access to Forex, anything at all?
Unfortunately and very sadly, the answer is no to most MSMEs. Yes, while government used to announce various intervention programs, maybe through Bank of Industry, through CBN, through SMIDAN and all of that, there are always major barriers that disturb or inhibit small business owners for accessing it. It could sometimes be collateral requirements that are too high. It could be that the process is too bureaucratic. It could be that the disbursement is so low. Even when it comes to infrastructure, you look at all the industrial hub we have, it's a nightmare. Even the market themselves is a nightmare. To bring in raw material to the country, it's a big issue. You have to go to black market before you begin to access funds in terms of forex and all of that. Right. So, like I said before, while technically borrowing money is not, but if it is not going to tangible, direct, measurable impact on business owners, then it becomes an issue. For us, it's been very, very low.
Right, and of course, we've also seen that, people like the FIRS, the customs, even in Abuja, they've talked about, revenue claims and, seeing massive revenue. And yet, the government says it still needs to borrow some more. Now, do you think this is a revenue problem or a spending or accountability problem for Nigeria?
For me, I think it is the two, but I would say that spending and accountability are the bigger issues. On the revenue side, you see that we have big record for revenue collection. But you discover that even the tax net is still very, very narrow. A lot of potential taxpayers are not in the formal system, they're in the informal sector. So that means that a lot still needs to be done. You also discover that there's a lot of leakages in revenue collection today. However, even the money that is collected is not always efficiently used. Most times it goes to recurrent expenditure like salaries, overhead, debt servicing, and all of that, leaving very little capital for projects, and these are the ones that can directly benefit small business owners. So for me, the real issue is how the money is spent, the transparency of that spending, and whether it is measurable, whether the impact is actually measurable. So for us, we feel the best thing is to plug leakages, reduce corruption, and make spending more productive so that we will not always need to borrow again.
Okay, Dr. Femi, so if you had the opportunity to meet the president, or peradventure the president is watching right now and he's wondering, Femi, what can I do that will actually help small businesses? What will you tell him?
Well, that's a great question. How the opportunity comes at a time. Well, I will highlight a number of issues to him. First is the issue of energy. I will encourage him to please lower energy costs and operational costs for MSMEs. It is not a bad idea if there's a reason for us to subsidize diesel so that businesses can thrive. It is also good for us to provide stable power supply, particularly for industrial hubs and clusters where we have small business owners. When it comes to energy too, it is not a bad idea to give government support to local production and distribution of affordable solar and renewable energy, particularly for small business enterprise. Secondly, I will also talk about market access and access to credit. It is fine if government can create a window whereby MSMEs can access single-digit interest rates with little or no collateral and with quick disbursement. That would also be great. I also talk about Forex. It's fine for us to look at how a government can dedicate an MSME Forex allocation channel for those who want to import in raw materials, equipment, and all of that, so that we don't need to be going to go to black market again. I also talk about the Nigerian force policy, whereby procurement by MDAs should go directly to local manufacturers and those who have services to render locally. This is going to be a big boost for MSMEs because government is always the biggest spender at any time. I also talk about infrastructure too. There's need for government to look at how to upgrade our industrial hubs, our incubation center, workplaces, and all of that. If we have clusters that are affordable and it is available everywhere for us to use with water, power, security, logistics, and all of that, I think it will go a long way to grow and boost MSMEs. I also talk about government policies. Many of our policies here is not stable, and some are not even very clear. So it's good for government to also look at how we can stabilize policies over the years so that MSMEs can plan. I also talk about ease of doing business. It's very difficult doing business in this part of the world. So it's good for government to look at how they can simplify registration, licensing, and all of that, and bring everything to one-stop portal for payments, digitalize the process, reduce the timelines, and remove human interface completely from the process before. I also mentioned the issue of support for MSMEs by creating an MSME-specific support framework. In today's Nigeria, it is one size fits all. One law, one policy cannot work for all sectors of the MSMEs. One tailor shop is different from a large factory. So there is need for us to tailor our policies to these separate segments so that they can also be able to drive. I also talk about corruption. Corruption is one of the reasons why we don't have intervention fund getting to MSMEs. So it's good for government to also create an ecosystem whereby stakeholders like ourselves can come in, have a handshake with governments, so that when they are intervention fund, there will be transparency, and the fund will actually go to the right MSMEs that needs it. When it comes to corruption too, we can also need to block leakages so that those funds that are being collected from looted from those who loot them can now go directly to MSMEs and support them to be able to.
Right.
MSMEs create about 80% of the jobs, so they need to be supported.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Femi, for giving us the insight as to what's going on with MSMEs. And we hope that your complaints and your suggestions get to the right ear. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
I hope so too. Thank you for the opportunity.